Hey everyone, I'm Danny and welcome to Wizardry Workshop. The Christmas season is upon us, and what better way to celebrate than making our own greeting cards? This was an assignment from our headmistress over on Patreon. A big thank you for coming up with a cool idea for Christmas. There have actually been quite a few of you who have just recently subscribed over the past few weeks, and I wanted to say thank you to all of you. Welcome. If you are new here and you're not subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe down below to join our magical crafting community and keep up with all of my uploads of Harry Potter DIYs. Go ahead and check out the description box below for a list of supplies you're gonna need to make this DIY, and let's get started. First, you want to print out the templates, of course. One of them is a cauldron and the other one is a magical map. It's inspired by the Marauder's map, and this one is inspired by the Leaky Cauldron. So at the most basic level, you could just print these out, cut them out, fold them how they need to go, and you have a couple of Christmas cards right there. But if you want to up your crafting game and embellish these with gold foil, that's what I'm going to show you how to do right now. I'm going to show you that using the magical map card. And as you can see, it is double-sided, printed on cardstock. The file you want to print is the one that is titled with foil, magical map with foil. And that will not have any of the wording on here. And then all of the words will be in gold foil when we're done. But you need to print it with an inkjet printer, and then the gold foil file, so it says magical map foil only is the file name, you're going to want to print on top of that with a laser printer in order to get our foil to stick properly. And we will be using a Mink gold foil applicating machine. I will link that in the description box below. But there is a bit of a challenge getting those prints to line up, and I'm going to show you how to do that right now. You are going to need to print out this template. This is a registration marks template, which you can download in the description box of this video. You want to print one of them with your laser printer and then another copy of it with the same settings on your inkjet printer. That way the images are the same size and you know exactly where they land on the page when you print them. It's really important for your settings to not do any type of scaling on these images. So a lot of times the printer will have the option to scale the image to fit the page. You don't want to do that. Print it at its original size. You're also going to need a light table or something similar. You could try to, make your own light table if you don't have one. If you have a glass top table, you could put a big bright light underneath of it. That would work. You do want to make sure that the laser print is on the bottom and the inkjet print is on the top. And once you get them all the pages perfectly lined up, you might notice that your registration marks don't line up. So what you want to do is get those registration marks to line up. We're going to take a marker or a pencil or anything you have, and I'm going to mark all the way over to the edge of the circle right here and at the bottom right there. So we know that we need to shift our image over in an image editor by this exact amount. It's not very much down, but you can see to the right, mine needs to go over quite a bit. And all you need to do from here is grab a ruler and see. It's usually by just a tiny amount. As you can see right here, it's like a 1/16 of an inch to the right is what it needs to move. And then like not even a 1/16 down. Basically the idea is to pull this file into your image editor. I use Photoshop, you could use GIMP, anything that allows you to move things over based on your measurements that you've taken. I adjusted this one in Photoshop, printed it, so now we're going to go ahead and overlap them again. Here we go. I did make a couple of adjustments. This is the third time I've tried to line this up, but now that I've got the measurements in there properly, they line exactly up. And this is what we want when we're doing gold foil, because especially if it's a very detailed thing and things need to be in the exact spot that you want them in, this is what we need to do. And once everything lines up, you're good to go. Now you know the exact amount you need to move your image over in order to get your stuff to line up. For example, now if you're doing a gold foiled print, you would nudge your inkjet print over as much as you nudged this from its original spot, print it, and then the laser print, which prints the gold foiled part, would line up exactly where you want it now on top of your inkjet print. To slide your image over, it's going to be pretty easy. So we're right here in Photoshop. I've got the original registration marks file open, and then I've also overlaid my modified one on top, which is the amount I need to like nudge this thing over and down. So we'll go ahead and double click the background layer and make it layer 0. That way we can move it and nudge it how we need to. And we want to lock this layer, which is the modified nudged layer. So I'm going to lock that. That way I don't accidentally move that one. And from here, it's going to be pretty simple. First of all, both of these layers should have the layer effect of multiply, the blending effect of multiply. And then underneath layer 0, we want to open up our template. So there we go. We've got our template in here. This is the Marauders Map Christmas card that I'm doing right now. And so with that layer underneath the registration marks, if we zoom in, we can still see this registration mark right here. Now it's just a matter of selecting our template layer and our layer 0, which is the original registration marks, and then we're going to move that over. So we're going to nudge them over until those registration marks line up. And right there, they line up perfectly, and now we can hide both registration marks. We'll zoom back out, and this is exactly where we want our template to be. Since this is a double-sided template, we're going to have to do the other side too. So to do the other side, we'll go ahead and hide the original page 1. Then we'll go back to layer 0. I'm going to select all and then put it back to where it was in the beginning by using these two move options up here. This one centers it vertically and this one centers it horizontally. So now we've got it right back to where we want it. And then for layer 2, which is the one that we modified and nudged, I'm going to unlock it. And then what I'll do is transform and flip horizontal. So now we know page 2 needs to go over here. So we'll lock that layer again, and then we'll open up page 2. Now with page 2 in here, it's exactly the same as we just did before. We're going to highlight and select page 2 and layer 0. Again, we're going to zoom in, and then we can nudge this over to where it needs to be so that it lines up perfectly with our registration marks. Now we can hide that one and hide this one, zoom back out. Now to make this into a double-paged PDF, I'm going to create a new layer and drag it to the very bottom of my layer stack. Make sure white is your secondary color over here. And then we're going to go up to Layer, New, and then Background from Layer. And that'll give you a brand new background layer right here, filled with white. We can make page 1 visible. I'm going to select all, Control-Shift-C, or Edit and Copy Merged also does that, but Shift plus Control plus C will copy merged, or Apple Shift C, if you're on Mac, will do that. Basically, any keyboard shortcuts I talk about, Control, just go ahead and swap that out for the Apple key. So we copy merged, and then we make a new document with the clipboard dimensions, create, and paste. Now we can flatten that one, and then we're going to go back to our document, hide page 1, show page 2, Control-Shift-C again to copy merged, Control-N to make a new document, again with the clipboard dimensions, and then Control-V to paste it. We're going to right-click and flatten that image too. Now we have Untitled 1 and Untitled 2, both flattened. One is page 1, the other is page 2, and they should all be nudged just the right amount for your in particular printer. Then we go to File, Automate, and PDF Presentation. If you add the open files, you can see all the files we have opened are added in here. We can remove that Photoshop document of the registration marks, and now we just have Untitled 1 and Untitled 2. And once you save this, just click Save, pick a location and a file name, and you will have a 2-paged PDF from Photoshop. And now I'm going to go ahead and print a couple of these so I can make my Christmas cards. And here we have the finished print. I have printed the background texture and all of this with my inkjet, and then the black part here and here is all printed with my laser printer. And you can kind of tell the difference between the prints because, as you can see, the black has a bit of a shine to it, whereas the inkjet print does not. If my measurements were correct, that should have lined up absolutely perfectly. So let's go ahead and foil this thing. We will need our Mink gold foiling machine. We'll turn this on and we will set it to 2. The higher the number, the hotter it gets. We will also need our gold foil, and this is a roll of heat activated gold foil from the creators of the Mink applicating machine. I'm pretty sure you can get off, whoops, okay. That means it's heated up enough. Sorry about that, guys. So I'm pretty sure you can get off-brand stuff, but I always go with the Mink brand because it matches the machine and I know it's gonna work and look good. And now we just need to cut pieces off that are big enough to cover the parts that need to get foiled, which are the letters, the words, and my little logo right here for Wizardry Workshop that'll be on the back. And then the inside, we also need a piece of foil big enough for that too. So what I like to do is kind of set it on top of what I want to foil and then make like a little cut or snip in. And then I can do that same thing this way. And after I have made those 2 little cuts, then I just use that as a visual guide, I guess, as to how big this square of foil needs to be. And that should cover this. Yep, it covers it just right. And now that we have all the pieces of foil in the right size and shape that we need them, next we need our protective folder, and this is to, you know, put everything inside of, and then we'll run it through the machine, kind of like a laminator. Let's take the large piece of foil and place it right where it goes right here. And then I like to just sort of close this up and get it aligned just how I want it. Now we can flip it over and put these pieces of foil on the inside. Great, now everything's covered up. All we have to do is run this through our Mink machine. And there we go. I don't know, I just love gold foil. I can't not like it. And from this point on, now we're just going to be making these like we normally would without the foil. It's pretty self-explanatory for some people, but I'm going to show you how to do it the way that I envisioned it to be done, and in case it's not just totally obvious for you. So I do have some marks in the margin of the template on this side. So what those are for is 2 of them are for cutting, and then a couple of them are for scoring, because we do need to fold this a certain way. We're not just folding it in half. I am using the Cricut scoring tool, which is great. If you don't have one, get one. It's perfect, especially if you do a lot of folding paper. Awesome, it's the best. So we just line our ruler up with those marks that I've made in the margins, and then we score it. And that's gonna help us fold it properly in the end. With these scored creases in here, it's gonna be a lot easier to fold it now. Let's trim off the left and right sides of this first. You wanna get it as close to where the white starts and the image ends as possible without leaving any white on there. That's to make the words line up properly. And here we are so far. Now we fold in where we've made those crease lines. It should close up nearly perfectly. It's hard to get it perfect. There might be the tiniest little bit of space in between your cuts, but you know what? That's just the way things go when you're making things by hand. It's so hard to get it exactly perfect. We are not machines, or are we? Now with it closed, we can just go ahead and trim off the white from the top and the bottom of this card. And we are left with our finished Christmas card. I solemnly swear I've been nothing but good. We've got my little seal for quality on the back. And that just looks so cool also with like the shadow on the inside when it's like barely open and you can see that foil peeking through from the shadows. That just looks so magical to me. As for this one, printed the same way, we are going to be using green foil. Now all we do is fold it in half and trim off that white space from around. And we end up with a shiny Happy Christmas greeting card, just like that. And there are our 2 Harry Potter inspired Christmas greeting cards. Let me know what you guys thought of these Christmas cards. Do you like them? Do you hate them? I have a limited supply of these that I have printed and assembled by hand right here in my studio. So if that's something that you're interested in purchasing because you like the gold foiling and you don't want to do it yourself, or you just would rather buy them than make them, they're available on my Etsy shop right now. Everything is linked in the description box below. That's all of my social channels. That's Etsy, Patreon, and Discord. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you have very happy holidays, and I'll see you in the next one.